Good day, folks. This is Matt Leger here, coming at you with something different today. We're going to take a look at editing a post-production video from a webinar I produced with my business partner and good friend Alain Daou. But I think that you'll enjoy the process here because I'm really excited on how streamlined this has become in this day and age. This kind of process would normally have taken me 5 or 6 hours. My general ratio for live event to post-production work was 4 to 5 to 1. So it takes about 4 to 5 hours of post-production time for every hour of live recording. Suppose that I put on a webinar about an hour, maybe 50 minutes, 45 minutes with the intro and outro removed. That could take previously 4 to 5 hours. Now we got this down to a science. AI, being the wonderful assist that it is, has got this process significantly lower, probably like 40 to 50% faster than it was before. That's super exciting for anybody in multimedia, content development, e-learning. Your efficiency just picks up so much. I want to show you today how you can do that, how you can actually streamline your video editing process and audio editing, and really your full gamut of post-production services be efficient now and optimized. And let me show you how we're going to do that. So right here, what you're looking at is a wonderful program that I love so much called Descript. And if you're not familiar with Descript, you can look it up, but essentially it's an AI powered video editing recording studio. It does a lot of things. It does transcripts, subtitles, the actual editing, and of course there's wonderful AI tools that we can use to make this very, very, very streamlined. So let's take a quick look at this in action so that you get an idea of what we're doing. If I show you my working folder from this event, here's what I call a working folder. You may have another word for it. Essentially just a local folder where all of the files are stored for this project. A little bit about this project. This was a garden school program that my business partner Alain Daou put on. Not the greatest turnout, but still the people that were there did enjoy a very high quality production, and the slides were fantastic. He did a great presentation. It lasted about 3 hours, so it was like 2 weeks worth of material condensed down to 3 hours. It was drinking from the fire hose, but it was really good. For people in that industry, it was a lot of great information. I produced, presented, and hosted it. I was the moderator working with the tech. Afterwards, the producer, me, the tech guy, will typically grab the torch, downloading all of the materials, all of the chat logs, Q&A, report typically is done. So you see all that stuff here. There's my actual producer deck in PDF form. I think as I was actually presenting on Canva, which is another fantastic app that we'll talk about at some point. This may be a lengthier video, just so you know, but it's going to be fairly raw. But there's going to be a lot of good stuff in here. So make sure that you tune in. Use the chapters if you need to skip to what's most interesting for you. I highly encourage you to pay attention to the whole video because there's going to be a lot of really good stuff here for you if you're in anything to do with multimedia, video production, that sort of thing. And of course, event management. This is my working folder. Again, I've got my producer deck here, the agenda, Q&A, attendance report, all the stuff that a producer would typically generate after an event. For anybody that doesn't use Zoom, that might be a bit confusing. Like, what is all this? At recording, let me just show you in Zoom actually. I've got it up here for you. So here's the actual recording from the session. If I click on it, I'm in the recordings and transcripts section, by the way. And you'll see that it's not just one file. There are 6 files here. I think this top one was actually our pre-conference, so disregard this one. So this one here is not just one recording. You might think at first, no, it's actually 6 files. And if you're not seeing this, it's because in your Zoom settings, there's the ability to change your recording settings. Record to cloud, record local, and then what files it actually downloads or saves for you that you can download. So here we have different views, right? We've got the shared screen with the gallery view, the speaker view by itself, or the gallery view by itself, or just the shared screen. What's nice about this, and we've also got a transcript and a chat file here, which is nice in case you forget to download it from the chat box in Zoom. There's a backup here for you. There's a slight difference between the two, but we won't get into that now. And then, of course, the audio transcript if you want for podcasting and things like that. or there's other uses for that too. But what's nice about this, right, and you might be wondering, well, why do I want 4 different recordings? In post-production, for those of us who are avid producers and post-producers, what you would be doing is putting this together however you want. So you're not relying on Zoom's little tiny camera in the corner when people are presenting their screens. You don't need to worry about that anymore, because you can use the speaker view and crop that and move it around on your screen, on your layout, in your comp, however you want. Could be big, could be small, could be in a corner, could be in the middle. It's really up to you. It opens up the possibility to bring your creativity to it and do whatever makes the most sense for that project. And it makes for some nice videos that can be purposed in different ways on an LMS in an e-learning package, which opens up a whole other world of possibilities, as you can imagine. So that's a little bit about how we got to this point, right, with our working folder here. Now there's some other stuff in here that you might not be familiar with, like these. These are supplemental files, let's call them. VTT is actually a closed captioning file, so subtitle file that I got from Descript, which we'll look at here in a minute. This here is just a temporary file that my editing program uses for the audio peaks. It's an SFK file that is used by Vegas. It's a proprietary file of theirs. Now I have options, right? So that's the first tip I would highlight to you is find that feature in Zoom, but just for the interest of time, maybe we'll move on, but that setting, you can even look it up. See, recording and transcript management. So somewhere in here, but you get the idea. Turn on all of those settings. And with every recording, you'll get a nice array of different views. Now I forget what these stand for, AVO, GVO. It all corresponds to screen sharing with the camera, screen sharing without a camera, right? Gallery is everybody on the camera. So if you have a big group on your webinar or online event, you can use that, and then you can cut back and forth between the gallery view to get people's reactions, get 20 people's reactions on the screen to something that just happened on a slide 5 seconds prior. Really, the sky's the limit with this. That's why I wanted to bring this up as the very first one. It's so important and it's easily done and activated in your workflow, but often overlooked by a lot of producers, editors, and post-production teams. So keep that one in mind. That's my number one for you. Now, find the one next that is the most conducive to this particular presentation. What I mean by that, let's open up the producer deck so you can get a sense of how this thing went down. This is the producer deck, by the way. The presenter deck is not here. Typically, I would ask for that from the presenter, and that would be in my working folder as well, and a number of other files, but we won't talk about that today. This is a PDF version of my Canva presentation, but this is the producer deck. This is the technical walkthrough deck. For those of you in the industry, this was very recent, a few weeks ago. What a wonderful workshop it was up to the start time, and then once we get going, we're into it. There's the agenda. A fairly lengthy session, but jam-packed with lots of good information. Lots of breaks in between. We tried to insert as much engagement as possible via Q&A. So there was 4 different Q&A sessions and then one at the end. I think the last one is actually the one at the end. And then we broke it apart because it was actually 4 weeks of information condensed into 3 hours or less. It's more like 2.5 hours with all the logistics and housekeeping. So very powerful event. But now the question becomes, how do I edit this recording that's completely in its raw form? How do I edit it in a way that is beneficial for learners after the actual live session? Is there something still there to be repurposed? And that's probably the first question you might ask. And there's some instances as a producer where I've had to say to the client, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do with this. This source material is not up to standard. It's not up to a level that I can work with, unfortunately. And that sucks for them because sometimes these are like 2-3 hour recordings. I can think of one, a sports association I was working with, and it was a camera right up in the corner of the room filming the sports action with a lapel mic that didn't work. So the backup was the camera in the corner capturing room ambience of a gymnasium. So you could not make out anything that the instructor was saying. he was trying to teach the students and whatever that were gathered around. Every once in a while they do exercises and drills and practices, but you couldn't make out what was said. And the camera was so far back that you couldn't even make out the faces to get the expressions. Like, you couldn't add subtitles to it because you don't even see the faces, or you can't really make out what's happening. It's not a great source material, and because of that, we're not magicians here. We're not miracle workers. We do our best. We're technical wizards and techno shamans, but we're not miracle workers. We can't take garbage material and into gold. It just doesn't work that way. We can only work with the best material that we're given. If you give us good material, we can make it great, but if you give us poor material, we can't make it up to standard. That's just not how it works. It has to be up to standard first, and then we work with it from there. So a very good question to ask initially in the project is, can I repurpose this recording, one of these simple Zoom recordings? Can I use this practically, effectively in a learning setting after the fact? Preferably it be evergreen, where it doesn't expire and all that information is gold forever. That's really what we strive for. We don't have to keep going back and forth with constant revisions. It's in the client's best interest to not have to do that. So we're always looking out for the client's best in that way. We don't want to create unnecessary work for them. That's not what we're about. We're about solutions, and solutions don't involve repeat business necessarily, and that's just doing business ethically. But yeah, that gives you a sense of what we were doing here. And like I said, let's just get right into it so you can get a sense for how efficient this process is now. So I've said enough. Let's start playing around here. So the first thing I'm going to do, once I've established, yes, I can actually use this now. Like if I wanted to just, for example, let's take a look at it.
You're a vulnerable learner. You're somebody who's not afraid to admit that they're constantly learning
So
via email.
if I scan through this quickly, I can already tell the webcams, while not exceptionally good quality, you're looking at this on a 4K monitor right now, so it's going to be a little fuzzy no matter what. If I bring this down to my 1080p monitor at the bottom here, it's not as bad. It's still a bit fuzzy. That's probably from the compression from Zoom, and that's just normal. If this webcam quality wasn't the best, that's when I would look back over here and I would find, I believe it's this one.
What I would
That's the screen share. There you go, a screen share. Is it this one possibly? Yeah,
maybe
see,
just
so here I would check, is this webcam, I think this is from the pre-conference, but still, is this webcam quality better? And if it is, for some reason, it's not as compressed by Zoom, I might bring that in to my project later and use that for webcams instead. You know, it really gives you options. But let's just go back to our previous recording here because it's fairly good quality. And that's really what I'm looking for initially is, can I work with this? And the answer is yes. It's not fuzzy enough, even though the webcam is not superb quality, it's definitely acceptable. And that means we can work with it. So first thing I would do from there is, all right, this is the one I want to use. This is kind of my general working file, if you want to look at it that way. Now I may bring in just the screen share and get rid of this annoying little picture in the corner. I may just leave the little picture in the corner because having Al's face next to the slides might take away from the slides. And I might just want to leave it like that and leave it subtle to cut down on some labor time. I may need to factor that into the scope of the project. What is being budgeted for? Maybe I can't spend a lot of time thinking about the webcam, right? So here's where the gears start to turn. You can do a brain dump in your favorite project management software, a mind map on a notepad, or scribble it down. Whatever your process is, send yourself an email. I know everybody has their own way of doing things, but solidify it and externalize it and bring it into reality, starting to not just think about it, but start to manifest it now. So start to bring it into existence by writing it down somewhere. And so what I would do next, this is an organic process. There is a workflow to it, but for the most part, I operate completely organically. So you're going to see some stuff that may not be the best, most optimal workflow. But that doesn't matter because, as we'll see here in a moment, our production time has been cut down so low now, it's crazy. Let's just take a look here. So we've identified what file we're going to work with, which is this one here. I'll take one more look at it because I want to make
Some
sure.
facilitation strategies that are going
So yeah, that's like the basic presentation. Even though it says gallery there, I guess it would include the whole gallery. That's our main file that we're going to work with. Now there is this one here as well. Which one's this again?
now, if you're watching this
This one's
recording
just
later,
there's just the camera. We might need to use that at some point, so that's good to know. But this is going to be our main file here. So we're going to bring this one in. Let me just open it up. We're going to drag this in, or we can upload it a number of different ways. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project to keep things nice and tidy. So in projects, you can create somewhere here. There is a space. Is it under here maybe? There's a spot to create folders. That's what I'm trying to get to. I never remember where it is. That's in workspace. So go to your workspace first. Create a new folder. Or if you don't want to do that, it's best to do that because it keeps everything organized better. You can just start a new project. Whatever makes the most sense. In this case, I'm just going to start a new project. And here we can upload our file or simply drag it on. We'll just drag this right over. It's going to immediately start analyzing it and processing it. It's going to ask how many speakers are there. So we want to be accurate here. There were 2 speakers, producer and the presenter. It's detecting the speakers. This is already AI going to work for you. This is going to save you tremendous amount of time, and you'll see why here in a moment. Once it detects the speaker, we're going to set the language, I guess. This is not crucial, but why not? Automatically detect speakers. I'm not sure what this even does. I typically leave it off, but I think it could tell the difference between Al and I. Let's turn it on and see. As it's transcribing, I can just hit done. There it goes. We could start working with it, which is crazy. It's not even done uploading. There's only 100 megabytes out of 1200 that have uploaded, and yet I can already play it and start editing and working with it. While it's processing and uploading, I would first start by adjusting your layout. The default layout, especially on a 4K monitor, it just doesn't look right. So start by adjusting your layout so you can see all your tracks. Make sure that you can see your audio at the bottom and that your video tracks at the top, and a little bit of space in between if you want to add stuff, add different tracks. We're not going to do a full circle check of the platform. Just talk about different features as we use them. I would also encourage you to do a full circle check. Start at the top left and click on every single button and option and understand what it does. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to do anything bad. Whatever you do, like say here, I hit the home button. Oh no, I lost my upload. Is it still going? It's right here. Just click on it, open it back up. It hasn't stopped. So you're not going to mess anything up. Click around, get familiar with everything. The home button brings you back to your projects. There's the menu. There's all kinds of stuff in here to look at least on the top here. On the top level, there's tooltips. Not really good ones, but I guess they kind of tell you what's going on. Look at all of these different options. Make sure you understand what each one of those do. And if you don't understand, look it up. Research it. This is what we call autodidactic learning. Basically, when we don't understand something, we look it up and immediately apply it to our knowledge base. We don't question, wonder why things are the way they are. Look it up and we get a definitive answer, or as close to an answer as we can. We don't struggle with things. This is a good technical support workflow. When you get stuck on something, you immediately shift your focus to a solution. Don't stay stuck on the problem. So this is a 3-hour webinar plus a pre-conference. Looks like it's only a little less than 3 hours, but that's going to take some time to process. So we'll let that go. In the meantime, we'll look at some other options you should be exploring. What are the different options here? Scene editor. How does that work? Timeline. What is the timeline? This video is not going into all the elemental basics of video editing or post-production. It's really to focus on how streamlined this process has become. So right now you might be thinking, have we even done anything? You've just been talking for 25 minutes and you've loaded one video, and we've talked about working folders. Like, it doesn't seem like a lot 25 minutes in, but you'll see how this upload and processing time is going to save probably 2 to 3 hours of post-production time later. It's really nice how it comes together. But still uploading, still transcribing in real time as it's getting those bits of information. Maybe it's easier on the eyes to have a light theme. I don't like that myself, but hey, to each their own. Show volume in decibels. Yeah, that might not hurt. If you want to stay within the industry standard of, -3 to -1, then that's a good feature. See, I didn't even notice that. So that's a nice feature to have. Undo. There would be a redo here if there was something to redo. Upload files or saving your changes. While this is happening, I want to talk about the ability to, and I think this will just keep going in the background, so we're fine to explore other options here. That's still going. Another really nice part with Riverside, or no, not Riverside. That's funny I said Riverside because that's what program I originally used was Riverside. So Riverside and Descript both allow you to have a sort of like virtual online studio. This is kind of like your Zoom of the application. Not only can you edit the videos, but you can actually record directly in the platform, which is super convenient because the file goes straight to the cloud. It's all managed and edited on the cloud. You don't have any local files. It's wonderful. All of your working files are off your computer. It saves you hard drive space. It allows those files to be accessible from anywhere. You just log into Descript from any computer and you're good to go. It really gives you that flexibility, ideal for podcasts. So if you're interested in that, I would look into riverside.fm. But Descript has got Riverside beat now, as far as I'm concerned, because it does all the things that Riverside does. To me, the choice is clear. But explore this, because there's some different options in there. We're not going to go into the room, but I just wanted to show you the lobby here so that you can get an idea of like how it works. And it's basically exactly like Zoom. A lot less features than Zoom. But if you can do Zoom, you can definitely do something like this Descript or Riverside. That's a really important feature and something that definitely needs to be leveraged as much as possible. Let's go back to our script here. Looks like it's about halfway done. The transcription is done, so we can start working with that. That's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait for the upload to be done. You can start working with it right away. With Descript, the editing is different than you might see with other post-production platforms. You can edit with the timeline. Traditionally, you can do your splices and cut and paste and stuff down here in your transitions, or you can edit straight from the script, which is pretty cool. So let's say I wanted to cut out this minutes for some reason, or let's say I want to just remove this whole section. Hello, we're going to look at that here in a second. But let's say I wanted to do this manually for whatever reason. I can just hit strike out here, which is ignore. And now as soon as I do that, it's been removed from the timeline. If I zoom out a little bit, you'll see that spot somewhere around here, I think at the beginning. Yeah, it's been removed. I can see it right there. And actually, if I click on it, it takes me right to where it would be, which is right over there. If I wanted to put it back, maybe we'll see where it pops back in. See? It removed the whole thing, that's why. Sometimes it'll gray it out and do the changes that way. In this case, it removed it completely for some reason. Or maybe I want to keep it in there, but I just change what it says on the screen or in the script. There's the ability to correct. So if I wanted to change this, T minus 5 minutes, and I want it to actually appear the way it's supposed to, I would correct this and go T minus 5 minutes or something like that. Right? Now when I play it, T minus 5 minutes still says it the same, but on the screen, if I have captions or in my transcript, it's going to say the corrected version. So it's pretty cool, and it gives you that flexibility again. That's the number one thing you're going to keep hearing me say, because that's really what it does. Not only does it optimize your workflow and make things more efficient, It really allows you the flexibility to do things any number of different ways. Effective tools will allow you to do exactly that. There'll be 3 different ways of doing things because we don't all do things the same way. And depending on what view or screen or how you move around, it might be easier to do things one way or another. Some people use keyboard shortcuts, other people don't. So having the ability to do things different ways is highly instrumental to this. Okay, so obviously there's some corrections to be made here. Alu, it didn't recognize his name. This is something that could be said for most AI things, is it needs to be reviewed. I can't stress this enough. It doesn't matter if you pulled a script from ChatGPT or if you generated an image, audio, or whatever it is, whatever you're using AI for, you have to scrutinize it. Not only could it be wrong, flat out wrong, and it'll even admit that. It says there's a warning at the bottom that says whatever, Claude or ChatGPT, whatever you're using, may be wrong. And you have to fact check it, make sure that it knows what it's talking about. Because it will lie and it will have delusions and whatever you call it, hallucinations. I don't really like that term, but you get the idea. The other thing is, it has to be scrutinized for continuity, and it has to be scrutinized for, does it make sense for the content that I'm creating, right? Not just is it telling the truth, but is it structuring things in a way that makes sense, that's conducive to people learning? Because at the end of the day, that's the goal here. This needs to be palpable and digestible for people. They need to be able to absorb the information in a fun, light, and engaging way, an interactive way. So that's our challenge here. The upload has finished. It's ready to go. And remember that at any time we can bring in, from our working folder, we can bring in any of these files to make things better. We don't just work with one recording. We can work with all of them, none of them, a few of them. We can bring in pictures. If I had Al's presentation deck, if something looks a little too blurry or if I need to make some edits, I can bring in a still frame from his deck that will be a PNG, so the quality will be very high. There's a number of different things we could do here. But the first thing I want to show you, and this is, we're finally getting to the power of the AI tools here. So we can go through the whole list. I like to chronologically, from top to bottom, kind of go through it. Now, if I hover over it, it'll give you a quick description of what it's going to do. Studio sound, another one we might want to attempt. The mixed results on that one, by the way. Remove filler words, which overlaps with clarity. Remove retakes. That's a big one. How does it know to do this? I don't know. How does it determine which take is the best take? Does it always keep the last one? I'm not sure. All I know is it does a pretty bang up job at removing the extra retakes. So that's the big one. Shorten word gaps may be important if there's a lot of dead air. Chapters I don't really use, but that might be handy for some folks. You can also set those chapters in the recording. So as you're doing a podcast with somebody, anybody who's at the producer or higher level, a host, a moderator, could hit a button on the keyboard or click something on the screen to set a marker. That's probably what I thought it was M. To set a marker, and that can be used then later to determine the different chapters, because if we're about to transition from one topic to another and segue, I hit my keyboard shortcut, it makes a marker. Now in post, I know exactly where that new chapter begins and where you start the new topic of conversation. So huge potential there. I don't really use it, but it is something that could be explored. Looking good, eye contact a bit weird, but it does work. You might want to experiment with that one if that's important. Best thing is to have your script as close to the camera as possible. For example, if I was doing a presentation, I would be trying my best to look at least close to the webcam. Not up here or not down here or over on the side. But if your eye contact is not 100%, it will, with the magic of technology, create new eyes for you, and it's a bit freaky, but it does work. Center active speaker does an automatic pan for you to put you in the middle of the frame, which is pretty cool. Green screen, there's options here even if you don't have a green screen. You can have remove background and stuff. Automatic multicam, have not explored this one, but Lots of potential there. Generating images, you can do that with lots of things now. Blur speaker background, that's really an aesthetic personal preference. And then here's really another big potential to repurpose, not just the whole thing as we're doing now, but clips and how it determines and finds those clips. I don't know if you can tweak that at all. I've only played around with it a little. You could probably customize it to a certain degree. Highlight reels, same thing. You can decide how long of a reel you want, minimum 1 minute, up to 5 minutes, possibly more. But this will, again, I don't know how the algorithm determines what it keeps for the highlight or what it determines is powerful stuff, but it makes you a little highlight reel, right? We can try that later and see what it does. Obviously, you want to do this after you've done your editing, because you don't want to start making a highlight reel from raw materials. We haven't done anything. So highlights, that's another one. It's just going to find the highlight for you versus actually creating the clip. Maybe that's a good place to start before you start doing highlights and clips. Find the highlights and determine kind of what it wants to highlight and if you agree or not. Translate's pretty cool. Have not used it, but that is a very nice feature to have built in. And then we're into publishing stuff, title, summarizing things, show notes, right? That was a big thing. I didn't realize that Descript did this, but Riverside, that was one of my favorite features, is the show notes were just beautiful. Between Zoom's AI companion summary and Riverside's show notes, I could do any video, any e-learning course. I had everything I needed. So it's nice to know that Descript also does the show notes. I haven't tried it, but I would imagine it's comparable to Riverside. Draft YouTube description. Now they're just doing things out of convenience here in order to make our lives easier. That is cool, but allows you to do a lot of these things without having to leave Descript. They want to keep you in the ecosystem. And if you need help writing, instead of having to flip back and forth between YouTube and Descript or whatever it is that you're doing, maybe you're doing a blog, maybe you're writing an article, you keep flipping back between ChatGPT and this allows you to just get everything done in Descript. And that's kind of cool. The publish and write, I don't use very much. Repurpose, I use to a higher degree, but mostly it's the top one here, the sound good and the look good. Mostly even sound good, I would say. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started and let's see what Descript can do. Hopefully you're as excited to see this as I am. The first thing I would do before we start doing any AI is create a new comp. I think it will do this for us automatically when we start using the AI tools, but we don't want to edit our raw material. We want to leave this in its pristine state in case we ever have to revert back to it or copy and paste stuff from here to another comp. If you don't know what that means, the compositions are up here at the top. So we can create a new composition, and that will create kind of like a duplicate of this. We can even duplicate, copy, rename them for clarity. You'll see how this comes together here in a moment, but we don't want to edit our original composition. We always want to create a copy and then do our edits on that one. Every time we do significant edits, we're creating a new composition. There's no issue with space, so you don't have to worry about that. Use as many comps as you need to. And then your last one is the final version. That's the one you export. So let's get started. First thing I like to do is, I was originally going to remove the pre-conference part of it, but I actually want to keep that in because I want people to get a sense of what we can do at the production level, not just post. I want them to see what our production is like for online events. So if somebody hires us to do a production, they can see the white glove technical support that we bring and the hand-holding care and the disaster prevention. I want them to see everything baked into the event from A to Z, even the pre-conference. That's why I'm including a little bit of it here. Normally, none of the pre-conference leading up to the event is included. People tuning in asynchronously, they don't want to hear 5-minute lead up to the event. They want it to start at the event, or preferably when the presenter starts speaking. So we want to be as close to that as possible usually, but in this case, it's more of a demo, right, what we're doing. So I'm going to keep a little bit of that in. We'll determine here in a moment, but I want to start with the AI tool. You might be tempted to go from top to bottom, as I mentioned earlier, but I actually am going to take that back because the one I like to start with first is the remove retakes. And the reason is, once we've removed our retakes, the AI can then more easily go through and find the filler words and doesn't have to unnecessarily remove a bunch of filler words or redundancies in retakes. So it's kind of like a logical way of doing it. But I mean, does it really matter in the end? Maybe. It might be the difference of a few seconds, but either way, let's start with retakes because that's what makes the most sense. And again, adjust your workflow if necessary. Let's see what it does now. So right now it's finding all of the instances of, imagine how long it would take to do something like that manually. Right now it's scanning. I would have taken a minute just to scan 10 seconds trying to find a retake. Right? We should maybe even time this just to see. It's going to be ridiculously fast. What's taking longer than usual is typically I work with 30 to 60 minute videos. This is almost a 3-hour video. So it's taking a little bit longer than usual. And there it is. It's done. But it gives us a chance to talk about some stuff too. Sometimes it might make that decision because it determines that it's not necessary to have in the final version. And you'll notice every time we do this that our time goes down. Just from the retakes alone, it's shaved off like 8 to 10 minutes has been removed from just retakes. Now we have to be careful here because this is a live presentation. There's not a lot of retakes to speak of. It was a live delivery. So I'm not 100% sure that what it did is beneficial here. We need to look at this. A lot of this stuff also falls into filler word category, so I'm not sure how it identified us and ums as retakes, but maybe it will. If we make these changes at any time, you can still go back and decide, you know what, no, I don't want it to remove this. You just remove the strikeout and correct it or change it however you want. But just for the sake of argument, we're going to copy all of these edits to our new composition. And this is what we're going to do every time. So remember I said we're not going to edit our original video at all, our original composition. We're always going to copy our edits into a new composition. Now I clicked on it, but I don't know if it's doing anything. Might be frozen, I'm not sure. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it has copied it over. You can see all the edits. So if I wanted to say, I don't know why I'd want to do this, but if I wanted to put this back in, I simply hit restore, or I think you can actually right click on it also. That's probably more difficult to do. You can remove it completely here, delete. So that would completely delete or you can restore it. And I think, let me just try it. Is it backspace? I thought it was backspace. No. There is a button that will do this. Control backspace. Okay, so ignore is control backspace. If I want to undo it, control backspace. See? Keyboard shortcuts, never a bad thing. Okay, so we've done our retake removal. That's step one. It removed a lot of filler words and other things that we'll have to look at. If we determine as we're reviewing that's not what we want, we can always change it. Or revert back. That's why we have our different compositions. And notice now we're working on the second one. We're not working on our original anymore. Might be even wise to name these. So I would say, what is this again here? Build a school garden program, I think it was the acronym. Building an educational garden school program. B-E begs P. Begs P. It's close. Begs P. Version 1.0. And actually, this would typically be our last version, but let's do it this way. Next, we're going to do the clarity. Watch what this does. You can set it to different intensity levels. It removes filler words, digressions, blather, all the obvious cuts. Do we want to replace some of it with AI speech? No, not really. But you could. I could set this to low. I can do medium. I can do heavy. Let's just stick to medium and see what it does. It's going to take some time. I'd like to actually read what it says here, but I can't see the rest of it. So from here, once this is done, there's just going to be a couple more things in the Underlord AI treatments that we're going to do, but we're under an hour still, and we've done, well, 8 to 10 minutes worth of editing. Now you might think that's pretty slow, and it would be in the traditional sense, but believe it or not, we're almost done. It might sound crazy, but for your typical webinar recording turned into a SCORM, all you're going to do with the video is SCORM wrap it, which means that you're going to package it in an LMS friendly container, right? Which is SCORM or XAPI or whatever it is that you're using. Typically SCORM or HTML5, whatever the final package is, doesn't matter. We're just taking the video, and you can't just load a video straight to the LMS. It has to be in a compatible format, which is typically SCORM or Tin Can, XAPI. So that's all we're going to do here. The e-learning part of it, just a separate topic. It's a bonus thing that could be added on top. But as far as our actual video editing and post-production, we're just about done already, if you can believe it. It found a whole bunch of stuff that it considers filler and unnecessary stuff. Only the necessary cuts, it said. See, like a date here. I'm going to have to be careful with that one. So it must be reviewed, must be scrutinized, always. Anything AI does must be scrutinized by human eyes. I can't stress that enough. Anytime we're doing big changes, we're immediately copying it to a new composition. Notice our time as it's doing its thing. I'm using the Descript app, by the way. I don't know functionally how it differs that much. I've always used the app, or how it differs to the online experience. So do whatever makes sense for you. I don't know if it would freeze up as much. It's just thinking right now. That's why it's locked up. But I don't know if the online app would be like this or not. I can't speak to it. But look at the time that it's shaved off now. We went from, say, if that was, let's call it 2:47. Now we're down to 2:17. So it's shaved off a half an hour from 2 clicks, guys. 2 clicks. Remove retakes was the first. I mean, there's more clicks, but you know what I mean. 2 processes so far, tools that we've used. And then edit for clarity. We've already done 30 minutes of editing in, how long did that take? 5 minutes? Not counting all the stuff we talked about at the beginning of this video, the actual edits that it's done has taken no time at all. So if I wasn't sitting here gabbing away and trying to teach you the process, I would have gotten this done a long time ago, and I would be exporting by now. So you see how it really is efficient. Now, if I was recording here, for example, if this recording that you're watching was what I was editing, it's a bit meta, but if I was editing in Descript, I would use studio sound, because this will cut down background noise and enhance voices. Mixed results here, and I find that it works better on some mics than others, but I would still try it. You have to adjust the sensitivity of it. I don't think it's necessary for this particular one. There wasn't a lot of background noise, and I think Zoom already took care of that, so that's something to factor in as well. This is more for raw audio that hasn't been processed in something like Audacity. If there's a lot of background noise, this is a lifesaver. But you have to adjust the sensitivity, the intensity of it. Anywhere from 50 to 75%, I find, is the sweet zone. If you find that it's cutting out a lot of words and it's muffling things, you need to reduce that intensity down to 50 or less. But for the most part, 50 to 75 is the sweet spot. The next thing that I would do. And that can be applied to each track independently or applied to the whole project. Remove filler words. We've kind of already done this, right? You would think that it caught them all, but I still see some in there. So let's just run it and see what it does. And if we decide we don't want it, we can always decline. This is going to be a new comp yet again. And that's basically it. Oh my goodness. Really? 1,100 words. I mean, let's go for it. Is it counting the ones that it already struck out? I'm not sure on that one. But it apparently has found 1,100 some odd extra words. Now, you have to be careful with this too, because the more of these edits we make, you might be thinking, oh, this is fantastic. It's doing all this for me. I wouldn't be doing this number of edits if I was doing it manually. There's no way. I wouldn't have the patience or the wherewithal to think and process as I'm doing the post-production which words I want to keep in, which words are blather, which words are filler. Like the uhs and ums, yes, I try to cut those out, or dead air or redundancies, but to put this much thought process into the edits and which words I want to keep, I just wouldn't do it. So it would end up being a bit more raw and organic, which is not a bad thing. This may not be the answer for you. If there's no webcams involved, this is a lifesaver. This is amazing because people typically won't hear those edits. They might hear that, some of the edits are a bit abrupt and they're sharp cuts. And there's ways to soften that a little bit. Like right here, there's an option, as you can see, avoid harsh cuts, which I always keep that on. If something's too harsh, it will just leave it in. But I would make that decision myself, typically. Wow, that's a lot. Failed to apply avoid harsh cuts, so I couldn't even do that. Goodness gracious. All right, well, I'm not really even sure what to make of all that, but let's do it anyway. We can always go back to a previous comp, undo our changes. Whatever we do here, we can go back. So don't be afraid to experiment. I mean, that's the essential parts of what I wanted to cover today. I mean, we can export it and take a look at it, and that's what we're going to do next. As far as AI tools go, that's pretty much it. It did identify 24 word gaps, and there's a way, see, gaps more than 3 seconds. So we could change that to 2 seconds if we wanted to, right? But there could be occasions where Al's pointing around on the screen or doing stuff that he wants us to watch and he's not speaking to it. So we'll keep it at 3 seconds. It's already found them all. Let's do that. And looks like it kept the same comp, but that's okay. We can undo those last two at the same time if we need to. I don't think we will, but we'll see. Again, as you're going through it, you can decide, I want to remove more stuff, or I want to remove less stuff, or I want to keep that in. Hey, I don't want that removed. A lot of these things, especially on a producer demo, you want to demonstrate the tech support. You don't want to remove it. But yeah, let's just take a quick look at it and see how it turned out. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be starting promptly at the top of the hour. Hello once again for those of you just joining. Welcome and thanks for arriving early. While we wait to get started, please connect your audio and make sure everything's working as it should. We'll be getting started at the top of the hour. Okay, I'm just going to skip to the actual presentation here.
Regenerative education. So what does that mean? It means that I've spent the last 15 years being incredibly passionate about food production, ecology, and the intersection of the two, as well as human health.
I wanted to actually capture...
You can ask me anything as it pertains to gardening or building an educational garden program. I'll speak as best as I can to my experience. And if I don't know the answer, I'll be honest about that too. I should introduce myself a little bit. My name is Al Daou, and I am an ecological generalist. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm Matt's business partner, and we focus a lot on education. Throughout my career, my focus is...
Okay, so here's the thing where you're going to have to make a judgment call. And like I said, we're basically done. The rest of the process is me going through it manually, reviewing the whole thing, which 2-hour video is going to take me some time. That's where the bulk of your work is going to be, is in reviewing what AI did and then working with that. I'll probably speed it up or find some way to skim through it. Remember, the ratio was typically 4 to 5 to 1. So for every 1 hour of recording, we're looking at 4 to 5 hours of post-production. Now we're down to, even with our final review, 2 hours. So let's factor that in. That's not even 4 or 5 hours anymore. I'm not even doing the math right in my own head. So let's use the old formula of, say, worst case scenario, 5 hours for every 1 hour of recording. This is a 3-hour recording, right? So we're looking at 15 hours previously of post-production. Now that's the whole thing. Worst case scenario, we're realistically probably looking at, with manual processes from before, more like 8 to 10 hours would be more realistic, I would say. 15 is a bit stretching it for something like this, but you don't know what hurdles you'll run into. You don't know how often, God bless him, Al might use a word that is repeated over and over again, a filler word that you'll have to remove 1,000 times. You just don't know. So it could take the full 15 hours. But just to give you an idea, let's say 10 to 15 hours of previous post-production time. That's now been shaved down to, my new formula is more like 2 or 3 hours for every 1 hour. So let's do the math on that. We're at 9 hours. Worst case scenario. More like 6. So now we're at 6 to 9 versus 10 to 15. It's really cut our production time in half or less. That should give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. Now I have some edits to do, and I'm going to skim through this pretty quick because I know where we took breaks. I know where the Q&A is. I can clean this all up fast, the recording just for that. There's not really as much value there. It's more in showcasing those AI tools that I wanted to capture here, because that's really what's going to save you the most time. I need to package this in a way that serves as a good demo for us for production so that we can sell production services. I want them to see, that's why I'm including a little bit of the pre-conference and the lead up, is I want people to get an idea of what we can do for the event management side of things and the production, the moderation, and the technical support, obviously very important for people. So I'm going to go through and clean it up and trim it up, but otherwise the work is done. If I was happy with it the way it is, I would just go to export, and I can export a video, audio, timeline, transcript. This is wonderful. Subtitles, right? It does everything. Now, if you're going to export to a subtitle or a transcript, you're going to have to thoroughly scrub your script here and make sure that everybody's name was spelled correctly. So all that stuff needs to be reviewed. It needs to be scrutinized by human eyes. People really underestimate where the labor needs to be. Yes, AI can help us and do all kinds of things for us. It can't do that very well. It can't scrutinize itself. It can't catch its own mistakes very easily. So we need to point those out and help it to help us. You can export to video, obviously, and even to a web link, which is kind of cool. It gets loaded to the Descript servers, and then I don't know if it expires after a time. There's a bunch of different options here, all kinds of integrations and things. Local exports, obviously what you're going to be doing most of the time. You can export the current composition. You can select compositions that you want to export. Obviously, we're going to do our most recent one here. In this case, which is the current composition, you can set your different resolutions. So if I run at a really nice quality, I can go up to max 4K. You're going to want to match your source as much as possible. I think this was recorded in like 720, so we don't even, oh wait, no, it was, looks like 2K or something. Yeah, I'd probably just keep it at 1080p. And then here, if I want a bigger, smaller size, you can always compress the video afterwards in something like Handbrake. So I wouldn't worry about that. Keep the quality as high as possible, and then only reduce the quality if I absolutely have to for file size or something like that. But otherwise, keep the quality as high as possible, because you can always reduce the quality, but you can't increase it once you've reduced it. So always keep it high and work your way down if you have to, in very, very small increments. And then different formats. You can even export to a GIF. How cool is that? Audio, different audio options, right? So go through this, examine, research all the different export options. Exporting the timeline. I don't know how that works exactly, but that's another option to explore. And yeah, and then you're basically done. Then you take that video and you basically load that into whatever it is that you decide to use. If it's going into a course, you'd load it up into Storyline or Captivate or whatever software that you use. If it's going to your YouTube channel, you're uploading it directly from there. I would compress it a little bit to speed up the upload time, but you don't have to do that if you have a good internet connection. What else would you do with it? You could put it on social media. You could create any number of clips and highlight reels and then post those on social media that then are lead magnets to your website or to another video or some other call to action. All kinds of stuff you can do with this. I just wanted to showcase for you today how much more efficient the post-production process is now and how quickly you can get things done. And you really need to drive this point home, is it needs to be scrutinized. A human being actually has to look at it at the beginning, during the process, at the end, maybe another third time at the end. It can't be overstated, because guaranteed, if you take something that AI generates and you copy and paste it and claim it as your own, that is a pitfall, and you will be caught in that pitfall. I promise you. You don't want to do that. That will instantly kill your reputation, credibility, and authenticity. It has done us the greatest service. It is the greatest gift that humanity has ever received. Why? Because it's setting a standard for a lot of content that's subpar. It's what some might call AI slop. Compared to what AI generates that's mediocre at best, those of us that operate in the organic world, that rely on our authenticity and our sense of creation, are going to thrive. It's really putting a spotlight on the organic. And that's wonderful, and that's amazing news for people like me and other freelancers and contractors who are doing things for themselves, taking back their power, and they're exiting the system to then create a new one that serves them and not the elites, right? Rather than seeing AI as a competition or technology as something that's taking jobs away, see it as the support and assist to humanity that it is. It's allowing us to be the best us that we can be, and we can leverage it for that. We don't have to rely on it. That's where it gets tricky and it gets into dangerous territory, is when it becomes a dependency. We don't want that. There's a great need, I'm sure you all are sensing it, seeing it in the world, for genuine human interaction, right? With our digital world, everything being on the internet, it's very easy to lose sight of those in-person and genuine human interactions. And people are craving that now, and I get it. I understand why. So again, those of us in the organic space are in high demand, if you can believe it or not, because people want that. They have the need for the genuine, the authentic, the human connection. They don't want AI slop. They want you to bring your magic to the table. This is a perfect example of how we can leverage AI in our organic process to do what AI does best, which is speeding things up for us, taking the manual labor away so that we can focus more on our creativity and on our craft and improving the quality of our craft. The AI will never be as good as us when it comes to creativity. We're always going to be kings and queens in that area. But it can help us in our efficiencies and in our workflows to be more productive with our creativity, if that makes any sense. I just wanted to point that out and end the video with that. Hopefully you're as excited about this as I am. If you like this video, do let me know. If you have any comments, please put them in the comment section. And your feedback is always welcome and appreciated. If you want to see other videos like this, if you want us to go into more detail on a particular subject, if you want to go deeper on what do we do with the file after, if you want me to show you how we package that in SCORM and Storyline, let me know what direction you want this series to go and explore some of those topics as well. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. This video was edited 100% with Descript, and let you know that whatever edits it made, the AI decided, I've scrutinized it very closely, but whatever it decided to do is mostly the AI. If you're happy with the work, that's what AI is going to be able to do for you with Descript. I highly recommend it. I don't work for Descript or anything. I'm just a big fan. It's not a paid sponsorship or anything. Look at the potential here, folks, and that's why I'm so excited about it. There are other apps, and I hope that there is some interest in this video, because there's other apps and other things that we can integrate into this process flow that will just take this to the next level. There's stuff I can show you after this stage that all puts it together and wraps it up nicely with a bow. That way, when you're delivering it to your clients, that deliverable is top-notch and fast. Rapid Course Company, we're fast because we maximize and leverage every possible tool at our disposal. That's how you get it done faster and cheaper than your competition. That's why the clients keep coming back to us. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate your likes and support. Be well. We'll see you next time.